Welcome to the Tea Podcast, bringing you the best in news, entertainment, celebrity gossip, social commentary, humor, and LGBTQ lifestyle. This podcast is part of the Urban Wire Media Network, where we shine the light on issues impacting the urban community. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher.
Back with another edition of the Urban Wire. We're going to try this again. We had technical difficulties the first time, but you know what? We're not going to give up. We're going to strive and jump back in with the Tea Podcast. So this is episode 10, and today we're going to talk about several topics. And as always, we'd like to start off the show with introducing everybody. To the left, we have Mr. Ethan. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me back.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how have things been going for you? Ready for the holiday season? What's been new with you lately?
Not anything new, just still working and living, but I'm definitely ready for the holidays, coming back and spending it with you guys next weekend. So I'm very looking forward to that. Yes.
Wonderful. And over here is my very beautiful and handsome partner, Jonathan Crockett. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well.
Wonderful, wonderful. You getting ready for the holiday season?
Yes, I am.
Awesome, awesome. So, does anybody got anything new going on? Anything new to report or anything? Any good news?
Yes, some very good news.
Yes.
We got a house.
All right.
Yay.
Me and Seneca.
Cheers.
Yes, I'm definitely excited about that. I mentioned it last night on the Urban Wire podcast, but I just want to mention it again. It just seems like it's a really good accomplishment that I felt that it was. I've always been intimidated by it, but I would tell anybody that is thinking about home ownership, definitely look into it. It's not as intimidating as you think it is. Just get educated about it. Talk to those that have gone through that prior, that process to see what things to avoid, what things that you need to do. It's not as bad as you think. There's a lot of programs out there. If it's something that you want to do, don't let anybody discourage you from doing that, because where there's a will, there's a way. Like I said, there's a lot of government programs out there. Like I said, the sky's the limit. Don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do anything that you set your mind to. You know what I mean? As long as you have the income, the resources, and you're not living up, above your means, it's something that I would definitely encourage people to look into. It's definitely a huge responsibility being a homeowner, but if you have the fortitude to take responsibility and to delve into that, I would strongly encourage you to, take that leap of faith. And
if there's a will, there's a way.
Definitely. So we're going to talk about a little bit of this and a little bit of that tonight. We have some really good some good topics in our lineup tonight. We're going to talk about a serious topic that I think it impacts not only the LGBT community, but I think people as a whole. I think that suicide prevention and awareness is something that we need to discuss, because I think a lot of people try to shy away from mental illness and about suicide. That's like a big, I don't know, it's almost like a curse word. Like nobody wants to say the word, but I think a lot of times we need to discuss this, because our first story is dealing with Stephen Boss, who was known as DJ Twitch. And those who may not know who he is, he was a dancer and executive producer for the Ellen DeGeneres show. So we're going to get into that. We're going to also talk about marriage equality. We're going to talk about the how Biden has presented legislation to protect those that are same gender loving, and those that are part of the LGBT community that are in committed relationships, that are married. He has presented legislation to protect those, but there's also some pros and cons to that. So we're going to break that down in our show today. Also, we're going to be talking about the AIDS epidemic, and we're going to talk about World AIDS Day, which took place December 1st of this month. We're going to talk about how Biden has also presented legislation or an initiative to kind of end the spread of HIV and AIDS by the end of 2030. And in addition to that, we're going to be talking about the dangers of hookup culture. There was a story that recently came out of Houston, Texas, where a transgender woman was attacked on Griner. And we're going to talk about how to be safe. Like, I know a lot of people are, especially the younger generation, they like to, meet online or all the apps and stuff like that. People still go out, but now it's just an alternative. And we just need to talk about how to be safe when you're doing online dating and hooking up or whatever you're into. So we're going to get into that. And we have a variety of celebrity news and topics that we're going to be discussing. So I didn't know if you guys had anything else that you wanted to add before we got started. I know, Ethan, I know you mentioned something about a particular celebrity that just passed, and you kind of informed us about this particular celebrity, and I didn't know anything about it, but do you want to go jump into that?
So Miss Kirstie Alley that just passed away, I had learned from some resources and friends that told me that she, and I don't know if a lot of people probably don't know this, but she was a Republican, right-wing, extremely homophobic conspiracy theorist, and I just wanted to bring that to the table and inform everybody that just because they're a beloved celebrity and they did a lot of things in the entertainment world does not mean that they were necessarily a good person or necessarily somebody that contributed positively to society. So as sad as it was that she passed, it's something that we can't ignore, that there's a darkness behind that. Yes. So yes.
And like I always say, it's really sad. It's like you said, it's very, very disheartening when you grow up and you look at these people as icons, or you admire their body of work, and they're working in the entertainment industry, and you learn something, learn this about them, and it's very disheartening, especially when you idolize these people. So that just goes to show you that these people are human. They and it goes to show you that Hollywood is all about illusion. Like what you see on the screen is not necessarily who that person is, and as we've seen through the years, like these people have very troublesome background. Sometimes they have a lot of, many of these people, they have issues, they have problems just like the typical everyday person. So I kind of think that we should get out of the habit of idolizing individuals because they're on the big screens. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's kind of the gist of that.
Yeah, unless they make a positive impact in the world outside of that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't look at that. You know what I mean? I really think that they just look at what they do as far as the entertainment world, but you're not looking at what if they're a humanitarian, if they give back to their community, because there's a lot of people that are in the entertainment industry and they hoard all this wealth. They're very horrible people. And I hate to say this, the world is kind of a better place when there's one less bigoted person here. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't care how much money they have and what their status was or what they did. But like if they have those types of attitudes, or if they had all this wealth and they weren't doing anything with that wealth, then why are we celebrating these people?
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of want to change things around because I know we had to restart the show, but I want to start off. I guess we could start off with suicide prevention, and then we're going to talk about mental health. I think that's something that I want to start the show off with. That I was going to change things around, but I wanted to start off with the story dealing with DJ Twitch, and I know we just opened up and just said that we're going to talk about that. We talked about this last night on the Urban Wire podcast, but the reason why I really want to touch on this again, because I feel like, especially in the LGBT community, there are a lot of individuals that deal with mental health issues, especially not being accepted, being ridiculed, being just being ostracized by society. And it takes a very strong-minded person to deal with that rejection and deal with the negativity that society bestows upon our community. And I feel like a lot of times, especially with young people or people in general that are a part of religious families, they don't feel like they have an outlet or anybody that is like, or a sense of community that they can go and talk to and reach out to. And I think a lot of times, if you're not a strong-minded person that can deal with that or that can navigate that, it leads to those that think that suicide is the way out. And DJ Twitch, he wasn't a part of the LGBT community, but the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of times we kind of gloss over the warning signs of suicide. Like we think that because a person has a lot going for themselves, they have a lot of fandom, they have a supportive family, they have a lot of clicks and likes on social media, we think that that person is all well and good and we don't need to check up on them. But a lot of times those people are the main ones a lot of times that you kind of need to reach out to them to see how they're doing, because everything that glitters isn't gold. And I think that DJ Twitch was definitely a person that went through this. Like I think he probably had a lot of support. He definitely had a lot of support because all I heard was good things about him. But obviously something must have taken place to where he felt that the only way that he could deal with whatever he was going through was to take himself out. And those of you that don't know who he is, like I said, he was an executive producer on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He was a dancer. He was a performer. He also was on the show So You Think You Can Dance. So he was well known in the industry. He was very talented. I had the opportunity to look at, some of his work and, some of his talent. He was very talented, had a very positive just spirit, just a energy exuding from him. And it was just unfortunate that he felt that he had to take his life, and, those of you that are going through thoughts of suicide, we're going to put up the number for suicide prevention, because I think a lot of people are going through particular things, but they don't know who to reach out to. And we just want to offer this resource to you. If you know of anybody that is dealing with thoughts of suicide, or you yourself is dealing with suicide, you can reach out to the Suicide Prevention Hotline by calling them at 1-800-273-TALK, which that is 8255, or you can dial 988 for Suicide in Crisis Lifeline. So we just want to give that resource to those that are dealing with that, or we know anyone that is possibly thinking about harming themselves or taking their life. So I didn't know if you guys had anything to add to that story, or have you been impacted by this negative thing that we call suicide, or have you known anybody that has gone through that?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have a mutual friend, and it was about 5 years ago, and that mutual friend took his life, and it's still not a day goes by that we don't think about him, and his memory still lives on in our hearts. He was such a good person, but he thought that he was just a drag on society, a drag on his family, and he decided to go ahead and commit suicide. And
Wow.
it was just unfortunate.
Wow.
So it's just such a smart and genuine person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Twitch passing away, via suicide, just made me think of Robin Williams. And it was on par with that, just because he was such a just a beacon of light.
Mm-hmm. Do you see a lot of parallels between that and DJ Twitch, and even like, the friend that you're talking about? Did you see a lot of parallels from what they were saying, as far as like him being a happy and kind of like upbeat person? Did you see some of those ones? Yeah.
I sure did.
Wow. Very popular, had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just so amazing that how someone could seem like they're surrounded by so many people, still feels lonely at the same time. Like it's like you're in a room crowded full of people, but yet you feel like you're the only person in there. Mm-hmm. So it's something that you just can't take for granted, man. Because I mean, like you said, we've seen it so many times. Like, and then when someone is actually reaching out to you or showing signs of depression or suicidal thoughts, we have to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I'd rather it just be something, it wasn't that serious. I'd rather us just take it seriously and just take that chance, because it's not worth just kind of just glossing over it and say, oh, they'll be all right, whatever. You know how they are. You just don't know. So don't take anybody for granted. You know what I mean? Live your life. Don't live your life for everyone else. Be you. Be happy in the skin that you're in, because I think a lot of times people feel like they can't be who they are. And I think that they feel like, if I live in my truth or walk in my truth, that I have to, I can't deal with the rejection. So the only other option that I have is taking myself out. So don't feel you got to live for yourself, because bottom line, it's not about what other people think. It's about you being happy and living your best life. So, yep. So that's all I had to say about that. So we're going to move on to our first story. I wanted to hand the mic over to Jonathan because we're going to talk about marriage equality. For those of you that don't know, Biden just passed a Marriage Equality Act that will protect those that are in same gender loving relationships. But we're going to talk about the pros and the cons behind this legislation, because everything that, like I said previously, I just said everything that glitters doesn't seem to be gold. And I think that with this legislation, there are some hidden agendas with this. So we're going to discuss that, and I'm going to hand the mic over to Jonathan.
So I'm going to read this article from the Indy Star, dated December 8th, by Rachel Fredette. And I'm just going to hit a few key points on this. The Respect for Marriage Act would ensure the interstate recognition of same-sex marriages already performed or those performed in other states. That means if a same-sex couple from Indiana would travel to Illinois to get married, Indiana would have to honor that marriage. The bill would not, however, require Indiana or other states to allow same-sex marriages. Steve Sanders, a constitutional law professor at IU and an expert on same-sex marriages, said Congress would not have the power to tell states to perform same-sex marriages under the RFMA. And he thinks that there's a fair amount of misunderstanding about what exactly the Respect for Marriage Act does. It makes an important statement, and if it ever needed to actually kick in, it would need to do some important things, but it would not by any stretch of the imagination simply stand in for what Obergefell does. If Obergefell versus Hodges is overturned, the Indiana law would go back into effect, and this law is pretty much a anti-marriage bill or law that was made in 1997. And recently, the Indiana House Democrats sought to abolish the ban during discussions on amendments to a marriage bill in 2020, but it failed. And the biggest legal question about the RFMA is what the landmark decision's reversal would mean for existing marriages, which Sanders says isn't fully addressed in the possible law, which was signed in by Biden. The marriages would be recognized federally according to RFMA. And if overturned, the Supreme Court could state that the decision does not impact the legality of existing marriages. Some states could challenge that by saying such marriages were no longer entitled to legal recognition, but those couples would still have a solid case in court. Such couples would have strong legal reliance interest in ongoing validity of their marriages, Sanders wrote in an email. He also believes it is unlikely that the 2015 landmark decision would ever be overturned, but if it is, RFMA would ensure some protections. Quote, the difference that the new Federal Respect for Marriage Act makes is that under those circumstances, Indiana could go back to prohibiting same-sex marriages from taking place in Indiana. What it could not do in the future because of the Respect for Marriage Act is to deny recognition of same-sex marriages that come from other states. The entire Republican delegation, except for Todd Young, Senator Todd Young, voted against the bill, and the two Democratic representatives, Frank Mervan and Andre Carson, voted for the bill.
Oh, wow. So in layman's terms, can you just sum that up for us? So on the surface, this seems like a good thing, but what are some of the loopholes that you believe that are in this piece of legislation?
In Indiana and in other states that have anti-gay marriages on their books, is that any marriage that was performed after the Obergefell court ruling is that the federal government will recognize them. That's even those that were done in other states. So let's say you and I got married in Chicago, even though we live in Indiana, that Indiana would have to recognize that marriage. Now, anything in the future, Indiana would prohibit our marriage and possibly not recognize any future marriage if we possibly did it after the Oberfell, if Oberfell is overturned.
Wow. So, in other words, what do you think that those that are thinking about possibly getting married, what do you think would be the remedy? Let's be honest. Let's just say what would be the remedy for now. Like if you think it's just better just to take your chances, and if you want to get married, just go ahead and do it now because there's uncertainty.
Yes,
that this
definitely.
Wow.
Because there's no guarantee that the Supreme Court will hold the Supreme Court ruling of 2015. I don't know if that is the actual wording that I should be using, but sorry, my eye is itching. But yeah, I really think that anyone who really needs to get married should do so now.
Wow.
And it's unfortunate because, again, that would relegate same-sex couples back to second-class status.
Yeah. So really, in all actuality, do you feel that do you think there's a possibility that the Supreme Court could do something that could jeopardize same-sex marriage?
I think the chances are high.
Very high. Well, like I said, like we saw what happened to Roe v. Wade, you know what I mean? Like, so this it's definitely not outside the realm of possibilities.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And it's a court decision. It's not actual codified into law. So, and the Democrats that were in power had every opportunity to do so, and they didn't do it.
Well, this goes to speak for the Democratic Party. You know, it's a very watered down and weak party. I hate to say this. You know, they're always so quick to try to water something down just to appease the Republicans, but the Republicans never do that when it comes to passing legislation that they want to pass. And I just feel like the Democratic Party is not progressive enough for me. They're not. You know what I mean? I'll say this, I'm very disappointed in this administration, you know, and it's just like, you know, everything that Biden seems to pass, like on the surface, they want to make it seem like it's this, that, and the other, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but like it's always watered down. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's what I noticed about the Democrats today. Like they always want to bow down and try to coddle the Republican Party. Like it's just disgusting to me. Like, you know, These people we have voted you in to you know, because we and you made promises to us and you never deliver. Like, and if you do, it's like I said, it's always watered down. It's always some type of loophole. Like we're bad off right now. Like, so I don't know. So yeah.
I'm glad that they've made an attempt. Not attempt, actually it's law now. But I'm going to use the word attempt to try to codify marriages into law. But I would have hoped that the Democrats would have went a lot further.
It's taken a strong step, though.
Yeah.
Step forward.
Yeah.
But the fact that it actually got over the 60 vote threshold in the Senate to avoid a filibuster, that was the key to all this.
Yeah.
And those 12 Republicans, I'm not exactly sure if I should use the word commend, but it's a step forward. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say about it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can do better in the future.
Yeah. And we'll continue following this story. Like you said, it's something that it's just been signed into law. So we'll see what happens in the future, especially in this upcoming year. So yeah, we'll just keep an eye out on it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to our next story. This next story is dealing with the unfortunate event that took place at the Q nightclub in Colorado. Those of you that have been following this story, this has just been a very devastating blow to the LGBT community. This monstrosity of an act took place at the end of the month, last month, and it was just very unfortunate. And actually, it happened like right after we did our last taping, so we weren't able to cover it. Like literally, right after we ended our broadcast, like in episode 9, we learned that this took place. So I really wanted to do this story justice and at least touch on it, because I think this is a very huge deal. Like this is something that really impacts us, and even in 2022, we're still dealing with the same old. We're still dealing with these people. Like I don't even know where to go. It's so many directions we can go with this, you know. And there's an article by NPR that I want to touch on really quick, where a judge actually warned us that this individual was a threat. He posed the threat. Like Anderson Lee Aldrich, he was indicted last year, and they were saying how he was involved in the kidnapping case in 2021, but a judge dismissed the case though, and they were saying that they believe that he definitely had signs of mental illness, and they just dismissed it. Like they didn't try to get him any help. They didn't try to hold him accountable for what he did. You know, they just said whatever, you know what I mean? And I felt like if they would have taken this seriously from the beginning, we wouldn't even be dealing with this shooting that took place. So this article is entitled, "A Judge Had Warned That the Club Q Mass Shooting Suspect Posed a Potential Threat." This is out of Colorado Springs, and it reads as such. A judge dismissed the 2021 kidnapping case against the Colorado gay nightclub shooter, even though she had previously raised concerns that the defendant stockpiling weapons and explosives and planning a shootout. Court transcripts obtained Friday by the Associated Press revealed. Relatives, including the grandparents who claimed him who have claimed been kidnapped, had also told Judge Robin Shittum in August of last year about Anderson Aldrich's struggles with mental illness during the hearing, at which the judge said that Aldrich needed treatment, or, quote, "it's going to be so bad," unquote, according to the court documents. Yet no mention was made during the hearing this July that the suspect's violent behavior or status of any mental health treatment was evident. Shittum, who also received a letter late last year from relatives of Aldrich's grandparents warning that the suspect was certain to commit murder if freed, granted a defense attorney's motion to dismiss the case as a trial deadline loomed and the grandparents had stopped cooperating. So, in other words, they knew that this person posed a threat. They knew that this was inevitable, and they knew that this person was bound to carry this out. So I feel like someone needs to be held accountable, because all these lives are gone now because the court's lack of considering that this person was deemed a threat. I just really feel that someone needs to be held accountable for this. This is just disgusting. The grandparents obviously didn't give a damn. You know, he had to learn this behavior from someone. You know what I mean? And I just feel that, like you were mentioning to me, Jonathan, that the grandfather said that he was only concerned about his grandson not being gay.
Right. He was interviewed by a local local media outlets, Colorado Springs, I think.
Yeah.
And the first thing that he pretty much said was that I'm so glad that my son's not gay. And the reporter brought up, well, he shot, X amount of people. And it's almost as if he didn't care. All he cared about was the fact that his son wasn't gay.
Disgusting. Just
very disgusting.
Yeah. But on the positive side of this, he has been charged with 305 counts, including charges of first-degree murder, attempted murder of the first degree, and assault and bias-motivated crimes causing bodily injury. I'm going to be honest with you. I believe in the death penalty. I don't think that it's something that should be exercised regularly, but I feel like this is a case that it needs to be utilized. If we're going to have death penalty, it should be utilized to take animals like this out. And I feel like, I know this guy's over the age of 18, but I think that the grandparents should be scrutinized. I think they need to be called to the carpet and they need to be exposed because they created this monster. In my opinion, they created this monster. And, I'm just a strong believer that people aren't born to hate. I believe that it is something that is instilled in you, especially to this magnitude where you feel that you can go in and just take people's lives because you're not happy with yourself. And I know that you were mentioning too, Jonathan, that his defense was trying to play the gay community against itself.
Yes. And
put out the narrative that he was actually a part of the community, but didn't you say that they kind of slipped up too in some of the proceedings and they used, in
his first arraignment, they tried to say that he was non-binary and that he used they, them pronouns. And in another hearing, I believe that his defense attorneys slipped up and they were using he, him pronouns. However, I don't think that was a slip up at all. I think that is actually right on the money that he is, a cisgendered homosexual.
And so let me ask you this. Do you think that he was hiding his sexuality or do you think he's actually heterosexual?
As of right now, I don't want to speculate.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like repression. Like he's probably repressing it and because obviously his family is very homophobic, that he felt the need to express that by committing mass murder.
I think that's possible.
And let's be honest with you. I'm not trying to throw judgments or throw shade, but honey, look at him. Like I really feel that more so than anything, he was a piece of crap. He came from a piece of crap family, and looking at him, he's not much to look at. I'm not trying to throw shots or throw judgment, but I think he was dealing with self-hatred all around. So I really feel like it was just a perfect storm of things that caused this to happen. So
yes,
we're going to continue following this case. I just felt like we had to at least tackle this subject because we weren't able to address this after our live taping last time. And I feel like this is something that we need to discuss. We need to start challenging hate. We need to start calling people to the carpet, and we need to take it serious. Like when we know people that are out here that are spewing certain things, somebody knew something, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of times people just overlook things and they just ignore them warning signs. So this is just an example of why we need to just stay vigilant and stay on top of these things. All right, we're going to move on to our next. We're going to quickly move on swiftly and professionally. We're going to talk about World AIDS Day. Now, those of you that don't know, World AIDS Day took place this month, December 1st. And unfortunately, we're still dealing with this epidemic that has been plaguing us for over 40 years. And fortunately, there have been advancements in treating this virus or treating this epidemic, but I feel that more needs to be done. And luckily, I will say one thing that Biden's administration is doing right is they're addressing this epidemic, and they're putting in measures, or they're putting in initiatives to where they're trying to stop the spread of HIV and AIDS by 2030. So I think that's a good thing. They're reaching out to populations where we traditionally don't think that are affected by HIV and AIDS, and those are some of those communities are cis hetero women or young girls. And I think that that's something that we overlook. We just think that men that have sex with men are the ones that are primarily impacted by that. But I think there's various communities. It's a virus that doesn't discriminate. And I will say that it's really good that he's actually starting to look at things from a non-conventional point of view. And according to this article written by CNN Health, that's entitled "On World AIDS Day, Biden administration releases new global strategies to end HIV and AIDS by 2030." It reads as such: on World AIDS Day, the Biden administration renewed its focus on ending the HIV/AIDS epidemic by 2030 by releasing a new 5-year strategy for the United States global response. The administration said Thursday it's accelerating its response to HIV/AIDS with new global goals, including reaching key treatment targets across ages, genders, and population groups. Supporting these targets, they plan on reducing new HIV infections and closing the equity gaps for certain groups of people, including adolescent girls, young women, and children. Quote, this is a quote from the administration. Our work is not done. HIV remains a serious threat to the global health, security, and economic development. This was a quote given by the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, and he wrote in the new strategy that, quote, our progress can be easily derailed if we lose our focus or conviction or fall to address the inequities that may be fueled by stigma and discrimination and punitive laws that stand in our way. So this is very important because he mentioned something that I feel like we don't talk about enough is stigma behind HIV. Mm-hmm. I think that is going to be a key thing to end the spread of this virus. And like he said, I'm glad that they're reaching out to communities that are often overlooked. So I really commend this administration on doing that. So I just wanted to bring that up. Since World AIDS Day was this month, I would just still tell people to protect yourself, get educated. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of preventative measures out there. And there's a lot of good news as far as HIV treatment is concerned. There's a lot of advancement. So I really feel that this generation has it a lot easier than previous generations because it was definitely a death sentence at one point. But luckily, that's not the case anymore. You just have to get educated. There's no reason why this virus should be spreading still. So we just have to reach out to these different communities. We have to educate ourselves, and we have to take prevention seriously. And just know your status. If you are positive, there are resources out there. It's no shame in knowing that you are positive. The shame is knowing that you're positive and you're not doing anything about it or trying to prevent.
That's right.
So that's all I want to end on that. I don't know if anybody else had anything to say about that or.
I don't.
That's cut and dry. Yeah. All right, let's move right on along. It's getting late. I know we're getting tired, so we're gonna.
That's my bedtime.
Yeah. So we're just. This is what we call dedication. We're dedicated to you guys.
That's right.
we had to redo this all over again. Like we were like 40 minutes in, but realized that the mic wasn't even cut on. But anyways, we're not going to dwell on that. So the next story I wanted to talk about is there was a politician, a Florida lawmaker, charged with COVID relief fraud. And those of you that have been following the news dealing with the Don't Say Gay bill, I believe he was like the author of that bill.
He was.
Yeah, so he's been called into some, this person that's supposed to be so moral and supposed to be an upstanding, citizen has been caught up into fraud. So we're going to delve into this article by CNN Politics. Federal prosecutors announced charges Wednesday against a Florida state representative who allegedly swindled thousands of dollars in coronavirus relief funds from Small Business Administration. State Representative Joseph Harding obtained more than $150,000 in SBA loans by lying on his loan applications, according to the news release from the Justice Department. Prosecutors alleged Harding listed dormant business entities on his applications, fabricated the numbers of people he employed, and submitted fake bank statements. Harding, who is 35 years old, is set to go to trial for charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and making false statements, according to the DOJ. A wire fraud conviction carries a maximum of 20 years in prison, while money laundering and making false statements carry a maximum of 10 years and 5 years, respectively. His trial is set for January 11th in Gainesville, Florida. So, yeah, he was the one that put out this legislation, but it's kind of funny that someone that is supposed to be so moral and upstanding is a hypocrite, But like you said, these people that are so right-wing and God-fearing and stuff like that, they pick and choose what morals apply to them. So I just thought it was kind of funny that he's being exposed. And I feel like this year has been the year of exposure, especially with this bigoted party. There's been several people that have been openly against the LGBT community, but they are being exposed right and left. So I really think this is a good thing that this disgusting individual is being exposed for the creep that he is. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yep.
It's always that they have to kind of like shake the keys in order to divert your attention from the real problem. Don't pay, or what's the saying from the Wizard of Oz? Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so we're going to move right on along. Our next story that we're going to tackle, we just got a couple more stories left. We're going to do a couple quick entertainment-related stories. We're going to talk about a serious topic. We're going to change gears for a quick second, and we're going to talk about the dangers of hookup culture. Now, we already know. Let's just keep it 100. This is the LGBT. We talking about we talking about LGBT lifestyle. We know all the apps. We know Griner. We know BGC, which I call AKA BBC. We know Scruff. We know all of them. But a lot of times, I think, especially we get on these applications, meeting people. I'm not saying everybody on there is getting on there and spreading it wide and busting it open, which ain't nothing wrong with you, whatever that's your thing. But I feel like on these applications, we have to be careful and be mindful that people get on here and they can present themselves as anything, any way that they want to. If people do that in person, like you can go to a bar and still deal with that phenomenon, but it's even worse online because these people can hide behind an anonymous profile and be anything that they want to be. And they can present themselves as any way that they want you to be. They can sell you a bill of goods. And the thing about it is you don't have that luxury of looking at person face to face and looking into their eyes and being able to see if that person's genuine or not. So we have to really be careful when we're on these apps.
Look for the signs. Look for the flags.
Look for the signs. Look
Yep.
for the inconsistencies. If a person is telling you something and then 5 or 10 minutes later they're telling you something that's contradicting, you better run for the hills. Because these are people. There are people out here. We've done shows dealing with this topic in the past. I know we talked about a couple stories. I think we talked about a story a couple months ago on the T podcast about this guy meeting up with this one guy. He ended up getting robbed. Yeah, and another story where and it took place right here in Indiana.
Okay.
And then there was another one where the guy got online and he claimed that he didn't know that the guy was a man, which I strongly believe. I don't believe
I
that.
remember that.
Yeah, and he committed murder and got off because he played that card.
That was in Virginia.
That took place in Virginia. So all I'm saying is, we got to be careful about who we're meeting online. And, a lot of times, a lot of gay men, they get caught up into these quote unquote straight acting men or straight men. Those are the men that you better be careful against the most. Like if we haven't learned anything, even dealing with Jeffrey Dahmer, and that took place almost over 30 years ago, it still hasn't changed. These people are still out here preying on innocent people or people that are naive. So don't be that person that is so naive that you overlook the signs because you are so thirsty for a piece of tail or a piece of you looking for a piece of hot dog on a bun. You know what I mean? You don't be so quick to overlook the signs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We have a story, and I'm trying to pull this up really quick, that came out of Houston, Texas, where a transgender woman was murdered by someone on Griner. And this is from the Houston Chronicle, and it's entitled "A Houston man charged with a hate crime accused of using a Griner app to rob, assault, and kill a transgender woman." This article reads, a man from, goodness, these pop-up ads. Give me a quick second, guys. All right. While I'm pulling this up, tell me, what do you guys think about hookup culture? Okay, here it is. Okay, but we'll get to you guys in a minute. A man from Houston is in custody on federal hate crimes after being charged for and being accused of using the Griner app to mislead and assault a transgender woman. Okay, this is really ticking me off with this article. These pop-ups keep coming up. I don't even know what the purpose of these. Some of these websites having these articles, and they have all these ads on them to where you can't read them. Okay, Salai Alamud, 28 years old, is charged with committing a hate crime, kidnapping, and possessing a firearm during a crime of violence, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. The assault is believed to have been motivated by hate. Yeah, I'm gonna have to skip this article. I don't know why it keeps doing this. But I'm gonna ask you guys, what do you feel about hookup culture? Let's do it like that, so I can try to get this article up.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, I respect hookup culture for what it is and what how long it's been. I mean, it's been around, even in the heterosexual community too. It's doesn't matter what your gender, people are going to find ways to have fun, but at the same time, you have to be really careful. You have to be, really looking at the signs, the red flags of can you trust this person to, come into your space, or can you trust them enough to go into their space?
Yes.
What do you prefer based off of your settings for your own safety? Do you prefer to, meet up with somebody at their house, or, meeting up with somebody like in a public setting first before, so that way you get to kind of know what they're about first? Like, there's a lot of different ways that, you can safely go about, hooking up, and I don't know. What do you think? Or,
well, if it's all cut and dry, you have to put a lot of trust in, or each person has to put trust in each other that you are going to accomplish your goal. And there are people out there that just have, I guess, nefarious thinking, that they don't have that same goal that one person does, and that could just end up leading to disaster. And it's sometimes the other party is really, really good at deception. Hopefully, there's always a good outcome, but sometimes that's not the case.
It's not the case.
And it goes without saying, like, you can say no.
Yeah.
Like, if something turns south, if you don't feel right in any situation,
Absolutely.
say no, leave, walk away.
Okay, I have this ad. I had a different ad pulled up about the situation, so we're just going to read this ad. I just wanted to talk about this situation because I think it feeds into what we need to be out here pushing. This is from ABC 13, and it's entitled "Man Accused of Pistol Whipping Trans Woman, Then Being Involved in a Road Rage Incident Days Later." This took place in Houston, Texas. A Houston man is being accused of pistol whipping a transgendered woman on August 29th, and then 3 days later, pointing a gun at a couple during the road rage incident that ended in a short police chase. Salih Alimud, I believe that's how you say it. He was 28 years old, and he is being accused of robbing a trans woman at gunpoint, pistol whipping her, and stomping on her. Court documents state that the man intentionally targeted the woman based on her sexual orientation and gender identity. The victim did not want ABC 13 to use her name, but said that she clearly identified herself as a transgender to the man, and when they agreed to meet up. However, he immediately became hostile after arriving at her southwest Houston apartment, she said. According to the records, Alamud arrived at the victim's apartment, and it was about 1:30 p.m. that day, and he followed her into her bedroom. That's when he allegedly pulled out a dark-colored pistol, pointed it at her, and demanded her money. He said, "You are a demon like the other ones. You are a demon because of my religion," she recalled. And I'm like, "I'm not a bad person. You're on Griner trying to find trans women. What's the point? Please leave me alone." After the victim told the man that she did not carry cash, he hit her with the gun multiple times, causing her to fall to the floor, she recalled. Alimud then reportedly continued to assault the victim by stomping on her face and torso.
God.
When he asked the victim for money, she told him that it was in her purse in the living room. When he went to the living room, she made a run for it. He told me to wait in the bedroom, and of course, I thought not. When he went to the living room, I went running out screaming, "Help, help, help." The victim was left with multiple injuries to her face and arms, but managed to escape. When the neighbors reportedly saw Alamud drive off in a red Dodge Charger with black stripes. Then on September 1st, Alamud was apparently driving with the same red car when he allegedly assaulted a couple downtown by pointing a gun at them inside their car. Initially, I thought it was just a case of bad road rage, recalled John Avila, who was in the car with his wife, Veronica. But at that point, you realize that it's much more serious. Avilas, who owns a store in Henderson and Kane just off of Washington Avenue, were driving home and they were confronted by Alamud on Congress Avenue. Not only did he point the gun at us, but he pointed the gun at all of the people around us as well, the couple said. The Vilas couple said they called 911 and followed Alamud until the police could get to the scene. I think everyone in Houston is sick of this happening, so we're trying to make sure that this guy gets caught, John Avila said. Alamud led Houston police on a brief chase before he was arrested without further incident. Then on Tuesday, a separate group of police investigators were able to pinpoint him to the transgender's assault case. He was then charged in that case as well. And he is currently in Harris County Jail on a $100,000 bond. So this guy is obviously a menace to society. So my main question is, why does he even have a bond? Like, and I know there's going to be people that's going to probably have that, because they always have this type of narrative that, oh, well, maybe she tried to trick him. But obviously, I don't believe that was the case, because I believe that he tried to rob her and he was just a menace. You know what I mean? Like the way that he was going around pointing the gun and, you know, assaulting other people. This guy was just a menace to society. And luckily, this animal has been taken off the street. But this goes to show you that there are people that are on these sites that are in these apps that are targeting people in our community. And that's why I am a strong believer in I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment. I believe that gay people need to always be armed with, I don't care if it's definitely a gun, if you can carry or you're allowed to carry, or you're in a position that you can carry. Go get you some mace, get you a knife, get something. Especially when you're hooking up with these people online, or you're meeting people online, or even when you're out and about, because there are people that are out to kill us. There are people that mean us harm, and they don't care about us. They don't look at us as human beings, and they will take us out if they can. You know what I mean? If the people that are passing this legislation don't look at us as anything, you know, the average Joe on the street definitely is not going to care about us. You know, we have a lot of allies, but we have just as many, if not more, people that are out here trying to target and kill us. So that is why that you have to take it into your own hands to protect yourself and be smart when you're out here.
Yes.
So, yeah. Yep. So we're gonna move on. We got a couple more quick stories involving the entertainment world. The first story is, you remember we talked about this a couple shows back about Todd and Julie Chrisley.
Yeah. And
they're due to begin their prison sentences in January. So according to Yahoo Entertainment, they're beginning their sentence on January 17th at noon, and they will have to report to federal facilities that day by noon, according to CBS News, who obtained the documents filed by the U.S. Marshal's Office. So they will be at a minimum security camp of 339 inmates, while his wife, who is 26 years, his wife of 26 years is due to be about 130 miles east of the Federal Correction Institution in Mariana. The medium security prison there has an adjacent minimum security satellite camp, which holds up to 1,222 inmates, and it's not clear which one will house Julie. So those of you that don't remember, on November 21st, Todd was sentenced to 12 years behind bars, and Julie has received a sentence of 7 years after being convicted in June of having inflating their net worth to secure more than $30 million in loans and having underpaid their taxes for years. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens or what unfolds. But I don't think their quality of life is not going to be impacted. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Sounds like a slap on the wrist to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought I'll bring that up. In other celebrity news, we have had several people in the entertainment industry pass this year, and it's just been really sad that we have lost a lot of people. Let's just go through a couple people that have passed away this year. I don't know if you guys remember, and this just seems like this was so long ago. I can't believe that it seems like it was a year ago, more than a year ago, that we lost Bob Saget, but we lost him this year. I'm just going down this list. Ronnie Spector, Meatloaf, Sidney Poitier, Louis Anderson. And I'm gonna tell you, Louis Anderson, I hadn't heard from him in years. I had already thought he had passed because he kind of fell off the radar for a long time. So I was kind of surprised when they said that he had passed because I hadn't heard from him in years. Chelsea Christ. Let's see who else is on here that I recognize. Tracy Braxton. Yeah, she's one of the Braxton sisters that passed away due to cancer. Just strolling through here to see who else. Tom Parker. Yeah, it's just been a lot of people we lost. Like, this is a list of over, how many they said? Over 100, I believe. Let me go back.
It's been quite a few.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's just sad. But I think a lot of times we kind of, even the rapper Coolio, I forgot about him. But it just goes to show you that these people are, they're mortal just like everyone else. You know what I mean? These, and it goes to show you, like, your time can come at any moment. So that's why we just all have to live our life to the fullest. That's just the main thing I want to get out of that article. Prince Harry blames Meghan Markle's miscarriage on stress over tabloid lawsuit. Quote, I watched the whole thing. So they're dealing with that right now. They've been going through a lot of ridiculing in the news and the media ever since they got married. So I didn't even know that Meghan Markle had a miscarriage, honestly.
I didn't know either.
So that's news to me. So, our hearts and our minds and our prayers are going out to that family, because I know they're going through a lot with that family, and it's a mess with the royal family, and I don't whatever.
We spend another hour talking about
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Also in the news, Laverne Cox surprises a transgender man who has never met another trans person. So that's really good to hear. This took place on the Ellen 2 original show entitled Fearless with Ashley Ram, where they saw a moment that Ricky, a 25-year-old transgender from Kansas City, Missouri, met another trans person for the first time, and that person was the actress Laverne Cox. Cox, who broke the ground for transgender people, was an Emmy-nominated performer on the hit Netflix show Orange is the New Black, shared her story with Ricky. Ricky transitioned just over a year ago and has been working on his confidence. And after learning that Ricky still has surgery left to complete on his own journey, Cox had something else to share with him. We're going to give you $10,000, Cox told an emotional and thankful Ricky, to help in any way that you need to further your journey. So this is very, very, very uplifting story. Yeah,
very touching.
Yeah. And I think it takes people like that. Laverne Cox has always been a positive role model in the community, and she's been a very outspoken person as far as trans people's rights are concerned. So this is a wonderful thing. I'm glad to hear that. Let me see what else is in the news. Roseanne Barr.
Really?
Roseanne Barr's daughter says that she received threats over her mom's comments. So Roseanne Barr's racist comments about the former Obama official Valerie Jarrett have cost her a job in a TV show. They're also making a life pretty difficult for her daughter, Jennifer Pentland. The 42-year-old Pentland, whose father is the comedian's first husband, Bill Pentland, spoke to Hawaii's News about the fallout over her mother's controversial comments about Jarrett. Barr has defended herself against the accusations of racism, saying that she didn't realize that Jarrett was a black woman. When she referred to her offspring as the offspring of the Muslim Brotherhood in the Planet of the Apes. After that, ABC canceled her Roseanne reboot in response. So you got to be careful about what you do, because a lot of times that stuff can rub off on your kids, and your kids probably are not even like that. You know what I mean? Like sometimes kids can come out of homes like that, and they don't necessarily adopt those same principles or those beliefs, but it's just an example that how she really didn't care. She didn't realize that her actions impacted so many people. Like she didn't even care how her actions impacted the people that were on her show. So it's, a lot of people, people are selfish today, and they don't really care. And unfortunately, this is what happens.
They don't have any consideration even for their own family.
Yeah, that's true. So, I think that's all I have. I had an article about this article was about 97 cool gifts that they're going to sell out this December. But honey, I'm looking at this article. It's like this is just pretty much them trying to sell stuff and trying to sponsored. Yeah,
I've been roped into a couple of those.
Yes,
Clickbait.
Clickbait.
But I believe that's all. We're going to wrap this show up. We just wanted to do something really quick. At least give you guys something. We'll possibly be back pretty soon, but we got some interviews that are coming up that I'm trying to set up now. So 2023 is going to be a really good year. We'll see how next week goes. We might give you a little surprise podcast next week. I don't know yet. We'll probably jump on and say happy holidays to everyone. But I didn't know if you guys had anything to say before we wrap up. I know Jonathan's sitting over here like he's about to fall out of his chair. And I ain't about to come over there and help you up now. I love you, but baby, I don't know if I can help you up if you fall out that chair.
All I gotta say is Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Be safe.
Be safe.
I know y'all heard that pop. I'm telling you, with that, I'm telling you, if you had some good wine and you drunk that wine and it was so sweet and so tender, like the name of Jesus, it just makes you want to pop your lips, baby. That's what that was. But yeah. Speaking of what we were drinking, what were you drinking on earlier? I know we talked.
We recently named it the Crockett Chocolate Cocktail.
Yes.
And
cocktail.
It's like my favorite thing now. So
cocktail.
Yeah.
Cocktail. Okay.
Be good.
Cocktails.
Okay. And then Jonathan, we were drinking some peach bubbly Chardonnay. Was it Chardonnay?
No, it's Moscato.
Moscato, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right now. Well, you're brought to you by Myers Food. Like, honey, Myers have some of the best. Oof, baby. And I know they say Aldi's has some good wine, but Myers has some good wine too.
It did. Yeah,
they did. It didn't disappoint.
Yeah. Good to the last drop.
I'm going to give me another bottle of that, child. Yeah, so.
Well, 2 bottles if I'm coming.
Right. Make it 2.
Oops, excuse me. Oh, this is like the residual effects of this good wine. So
that's right.
All right. Well, we're going to jump up off here because we're all like, we're more drunk off of sleepiness than the wine itself. So we will be talking to you soon. Everybody be safe out there. Have a safe and wonderful holidays. Like I said, just learn to love and accept everyone in your family. Even if you don't agree with them, but just treat people as human beings. You know what I mean? You don't want, I don't know. You just don't want to be in a situation where someone you love is no longer here and you're unable to make amends. So, put these little petty differences aside and just learn to love those that are around you, and just learn to be kind to one another, because you don't know one negative thing that you could say to somebody could take somebody over the edge, and you don't want that on your conscience. So until then, just let's love one another, be safe out there, and we will talk to you soon.